I, and welcome to Bald Tires, powered by Shield Coatings. This is part 2 of Driving Through the Decades, where I get the special opportunity to interview my grandfather. And he's got a lot of stories to tell us. He's been driving for many, many years. We're going to pick up where we left off from the last show. So if you're just listening now, make sure you listen to part 1 of this podcast. We're going to start in the 60s, the more recent history, if you can call it that, and pick up where his family moved to Europe while he was in the Air Force and all the cool cars he saw there, leading up to the stuff he's got today. You're listening to Bald Tires, because when you make great memories, you make bald tires. You scrimped and saved, checked the couch cushions, and filled the swear jar. And finally, it's in your garage. After all those years, that car you've been dreaming of has arrived. Protect your hard work and investment with a visit to Shield Coatings. They can make sure your baby always looks as good as it does right now. Don't let road salt wreck your ride. Shield Coatings specializes in undercoating and rust proofing for vehicles of all shapes and sizes. Using environmentally friendly wool wax, Shield Coatings can prevent rust from ever taking hold of your daily driver or the project car you spent countless hours working on. Looking to make sure that classic stays classy looking? See Chad at Shield Coatings for more details. Shield Coatings also features sound deadening undercoating to make your ride ultra quiet, and paint correction and ceramic paint protection for the ultimate shine. Find Shield Coatings on Instagram, Facebook, and on Faithful Avenue in Saskatoon. Shield Coatings, anything to make your vehicle look better and last longer. If we think about the time you were leaving, my mom had been born in Calgary in 1962, and you guys left you were then stationed to what place in Germany?
To Ramstein.
Ramstein in Germany.
Yeah.
In about 63?
63.
Right?
Yeah.
So you packed up the whole place, all 3 kids, sold the Buick, and flew over to Germany.
Right.
Now, did you have to take a train to Toronto first or something?
Yeah, we took the train from Calgary to Saskatoon, and Saskatoon to Trenton.
Trenton, Ontario.
Yeah.
And that's right. Now, you didn't take a commercial flight. You guys flew on Air Force Airlines.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
They had their own passenger planes at that time.
That's correct. Yeah.
And probably no crappy crackers to have for as a meal, hey? They probably fed you pretty good.
Oh, we were fed like the best. Yeah.
The golden age of air transport.
Yeah.
So now, when you were in Europe, you had a bunch of different vehicles when you were there, right?
Yeah, I did.
Now, the first one, if I'm right, was a big Ford, wasn't it?
No? A big old Plymouth.
A Plymouth?
Yeah. This American was heading back stateside, and he had this old Plymouth there, and I think I got it for $200. So.
Like a 50, one with the big fins on the back?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it run pretty nice, but I just needed something quick, so we could get around right away. I did something temporary till I decided what I was going to buy, because you could buy a brand new vehicle there for tax-free, no taxes on it. So, like, for instance, a new Beetle was $800.
It's pretty cheap.
And the station wagon ones were, well, more than that, but not that much more.
Yeah.
When you don't have to pay taxes, they come pretty
cheap,
low priced. Yeah.
So you had the Plymouth for a little while, but it was pretty big for getting around in Germany, wasn't it?
Well, I had some of the bearings went in the tranny. And I had this one supervisor of mine in Calgary had transferred to 3-wing Zweibrücken in Germany, and he knew I had got this car, and that was a car he always wanted. It
was a 57 Plymouth.
Yeah, and so anyway, I told him I had this car, and he said, "I'll buy that from you." He said he hadn't even seen it or anything. No, he said, "I'm going to buy it." So, of course, he was a single guy, and he had all kinds of time to to work on the car,
Mm-hmm.
and he redone everything himself. So by the time, and he brought it back home to Canada with him.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, but he must have spent, I bet you he spent 2 years working on that thing, redoing everything had to be done to it.
Didn't you have to chase down a transmission for that car, though?
No, but that was my Ford.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that was the Ford.
So you sold the Plymouth and you bought the Ford next.
Yeah.
Now that was a what?
I bought that. No, I had that Volkswagen in between.
Oh,
Station
that
wagon.
one.
Yeah.
So I think that's called a Type 2, technically, and it's a Volkswagen station wagon, squareback is what they're called.
That's right. Yeah.
Now they're all based on the same platform as the Beetle, so they had the engine in the rear.
That's right.
Under the back deck.
Yeah.
But you still had space on top of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And you had the front end as a trunk as well.
That's right. Yeah. And that car, I bought a trailer from England.
Oh.
Yeah, got that shipped over.
Like a tent trailer, right?
No. This was a real lightweight trailer, and I had to go pick it up in Holland.
Wow.
I put my order in and picked it up in Holland, and we went right across Europe and all over with that thing, pulling that really, that trailer was built out of balsa wood, if you can imagine.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very, very light. You could pull the tongue, and yet it slept 6, 7 people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, there was 3 kids in that little camper, or that little car, plus towing that, and you went over like the Alps?
The Alps many times.
Really?
Yeah, up and down those Alps, not too fast, but going through there, happy as old heck.
So why did you sell the station wagon? You bought the Ford, but why?
Well, it was time for it to go.
Worn out.
Well, it was, but I still got pretty good money for it. Yeah. I did all the maintenance, all the necessary maintenance on it and stuff. So it certainly wasn't a wreck by the time I went to sell it.
Yeah. So then the Ford came along, what, a Fairlane 500?
Yeah, Fairlane 500. Very good car. But then that one, the differential went on it. Yeah. And it was howling, and I was getting it ready because I had to start thinking that I was heading back to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, this American friend of mine that lived across the street, he was a colonel, and I was telling him about this differential business, and he said, we have, there's a factory in Holland, he said, and we get all our stuff, because the American Air Force had the same cars as staff cars.
Oh, okay.
Identical cars.
Yeah.
So they had all sorts of parts for the same car that I had. So this American colonel said to me, well, he said, I'll take you in the helicopter and we'll fly to Holland to the factory and pick one up.
Holy smoke.
So anyway, I get ready. We go down in the morning to the control tower to get this chopper. He was going to fly it himself. And here we get there, and there's an alert, all-out alert, Russians.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. During the night and stuff, then all of a sudden we're in high alert, so we couldn't go. We couldn't. So then he said to me, but never mind. He said, I'll get it for you. So he got one of his supply technicians to, they got hold of one and brought it, and I got it. And I took it over to the American PX, and they put it in for me, and that was no cost.
No cost.
Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me what it was like driving on the Autobahn, because that was pretty new at that point, right?
Well, yeah. It was quite an experience to start off with until you get used to it. You don't know what the heck is going to happen because you're driving. You're most of the time I was driving that Air Force bus.
So like a Volkswagen van.
Van, yeah. And you could only travel so fast because there's no limit on the Autobahn.
No.
There was no limit on there. I guess I don't know about now whether
there's still parts of it that are limit free.
Yeah.
Yeah, not everything, but some parts.
And you get on those Autobahns, and my God, and if you take too much time in that left lane to pass, you're gonna get a big Mercedes flashing the lights. Get the hell out of my way, because that's the way it is. They start flashing their lights behind you, so over you go, And all the traffic. Yeah, it took a while to get used to that heavy traffic. It was.
Well, there was nothing like that in Saskatchewan at the time at all.
No.
Even in Calgary wasn't a big city when you'd left, right?
No, it wasn't. No.
So that was something new again.
Yeah. Yeah.
There was one story you told me once where you had to drive somebody awfully fast.
Oh, yeah. It was the 100th year anniversary. They had put on something special for the Four Nations NATO thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the Canadians, they had to put this on, and they got all this clothing and stuff from the original clothing from Ottawa and stuff, and the officers were all wearing this and everything, and they got an RCMP officer to come from Canada to attend these venues because Canada was celebrating its 100th anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
So they got this RCMP, and I had to take this RCMP to Paris.
Paris?
To Paris, yeah. To direct traffic. We're showing Canada's colors,
Gotcha.
And I have to take him to the Arc de Triomphe at rush hour to direct traffic. If you can imagine, at rush hour. And so they had a pedestal for him there to direct traffic. And the poor guy, I don't know how he managed to do it, but he was there for a good hour. It's a traffic circle, but there's no end to the traffic.
And it's crazy in Paris.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So anyway, that was over with. I took him back to Ramstein, and then come the day that he had to go back home to Canada, and of course somebody had missed the. They couldn't get a flight for him. There was only flights on certain days, and they were from France. Mm-hmm. They were in France, and on the Canadian base in France. So somebody had dropped the ball along the way and forgot that he has to get there.
Right.
And there's no time left hardly to get him there on time for that flight from France to Canada, to come back to Canada to work. So anyway, they said to me, well, do you think you can take him? Well, the company, vehicle I have is one of those Volkswagen vans.
Not very fast.
Yeah. So anyway, I said, if I can take my car, I said, I'll take him there. So now I've got at least 3-hour drive.
Wow.
But I know all the shortcuts. Once I get, from the time I leave Ramstein base in Germany till I get to France and to the base, I knew the shortcuts, and I said, so I got him in the car, and away we went. And he's hanging on. I'll tell you, I'm going through those, and he's, holy cow, he was sweating. And I said, don't worry. I said, I'll get you there in one piece. And he couldn't get over this, how well I had done to get him there on time. We just got there, and they were ready to. He was the last one on.
He made it on, and they were
off. Made it on, and they were off. And I waited there to make sure that.
Holy smoke!
Yeah. So that was quite an experience.
Which car did you own at that time?
That Ford.
That Ford.
Yeah.
So you flew in the Ford.
Yeah, flew in the Ford is right.
So you left Germany in what, 66 or 7, something like that?
66.
66.
Yeah.
So you sold that Ford. That was the last one you had there, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And came back to Canada.
No, I brought the Ford back with me.
You brought it with you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I brought it back. That's what when we got to Trenton, we used that to come home with. And on the way, I was coming to Saskatoon, but my home base was Yorkton. That's where I was transferred to. And on the way past the base, the radar base, I thought, well, I'm just going to pull in here and see what the place is like. So there was a set of railway tracks just before you got to the base. And I had a pretty heavy load on. And my exhaust pipe caught on one of the tracks just enough to break the manifold on one side.
Oh, boy.
And those manifolds were metal to metal, no gaskets.
When they were installed, yeah.
That's the way they were made. They were designed for no gaskets. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I had a hard time with that. I had a little bit of noise after that.
I bet.
The rest of the way, yeah. And but I managed to get that done in Saskatoon. One of my brother-in-laws, Andy, Andy's Transport.
Yep.
He had a welder that could weld everything and anything. So I took it off and took it over to this German welder.
Yep.
And he had that thing welded back up, and it was just perfect. Put that back on, no gasket.
And
not a leak.
Wow.
Just like new again. Yeah.
So you went from staying in Germany through Canada to Yorkton.
That's right. That's correct.
And you had that Ford.
Yeah.
So what was the next car that came after that, or how long did you have that for?
sold it to my brother-in-law.
Oh.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought his fancy, what were they, Galaxies?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 66 Galaxy.
Oh, really?
Beautiful car. Yeah.
So it went from the Fairlane to the Galaxy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen pictures of that or not.
I'm not sure if I have, but I know what kind of car it is. That must have been something, hey?
Yeah. It had that fancy hard top
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It looks like a convertible, but it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. And very good vehicle. Pulled a trailer with it. But unknown to me, Myro had hit some rocks in a rock pile at one time. And all of a sudden, I couldn't get enough power out of this vehicle. And I was in York, and I took it to the specialist shop, and because they were special technicians to, because I couldn't get any more power. It was running good, but it wouldn't. Everything was okay, the rings and everything else.
Yep.
And so finally, I had the thing up on the hoist at our auto club on the base, on the radar base. And I'm looking, I thought, now what the heck could have happened here? Because it sounded like there was a restriction of some kind.
Yeah.
When the exhaust builds up, there's so much pressure. And I see a little dent in where both things come together, and it goes to one, it comes down.
The Y pipe.
The Y, yeah. And right at the end of the Y, end that sticks out like that before the muffler, I notice a dent in that. So anyway, I checked with those guys that I had it in the city of Yorkton, their technician. I said, would it be possible that there's two layers in that pipe, and maybe something hit that pipe and the inside collapsed or something, but the outside it just shows a little? And they said, well, there's a possibility.
Really?
Yeah. So anyway, I thought, I'm going to get a brand new...
Yeah, the Y pipe part.
The Y pipe. I'm going to get a brand new one. So I got a new one, took the old one off, and sure enough, that thing, the inside layer, the second layer of pipe, was shutting off, and then the carbon had built up, and it was shutting off. So the poor thing was just absolutely couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Yeah. And once I got that new pipe on, then I was okay, 100%.
Set to go.
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. Yorkton eventually led to Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Right? To Dundurn.
Yeah.
You end up moving from Yorkton to Dundurn in what, about 1905? Remember my dates right? 72?
Yeah, 72.
Dundurn, but you moved to Saskatoon. Like you built a house on McKercher Drive and moved to Saskatoon.
Yeah. 1st of May, 1972.
So that Galaxy must have come with you at that point, right?
Yeah.
And I know there's a Buick after that again. But there's probably a few cars that you dabbled with.
There's quite a few that because I was buying them. I go down to Toronto and throw them on the back of the load of trucks, and and buying at auction, and then.
So you were buying and selling for a while there.
Yeah, quite a while.
Before we get to the Buick, I remember there was a fix on a car that you actually sent the repair information right back to, was it Ford or Chev, and they made a change, right?
There was, that was in Europe with the Volkswagen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So what was the problem?
And Ford, well, I figured that out myself. But with the Volkswagen, they had the fuel pump going through the center of the engine.
Yeah.
Like coming up over the manifold, up.
Yeah.
And the pump would sit in the center and just up and down. And the cam, would push it up, push the rod up to activate the pump.
Yeah, yeah.
And so they had a fiber collar sitting between the base of the end, the block, where this rod went through.
Yep.
And this fiber collar, the carbon would build up a little bit, from inside the engine.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would seize, go up, and stay there, and wouldn't go down. It would tighten up. That hole was too small.
Yep.
And it would build up a little bit of stuff on the rod and and then it wouldn't let go. It go down so the cam would bring up the fuel wouldn't flow. So I was on the Autobahn, and a real hot, quiet day for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
And because it quit on me. So I lifted up the thing, and I looking at the engine wondering, well, what the hell is wrong now? So anyway, I hear a pop.
Oh.
Just like that. And I thought, I know what it is. And sure enough, that pump was right over top. And I took that once I was able to drive it again then.
So it released, yeah?
Yeah, I was able to drive it again but not for too long. So I drove it back home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I took it apart. I took it off. And I made this fiber collar that they had sitting on top. I got the hole made enough, drilled out enough so that there was enough room in there that it wouldn't seize up anymore. Problem rectified. So I sent it in right to headquarters for Volkswagen.
Really?
And they sent me, I could have a tune-up done on my car.
As a gift?
As a gift, yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
And they told you they'd make that change?
Yeah.
To the new stuff they're producing?
Yeah. Because, there's always particles of everything in an engine that, it creates a film.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And if those things are too tight in there, especially with that fiber,
mm-hmm.
No
room for it to move.
Yeah.
It gets clogged up. So there's a car that I remember, and I think it's a 77, I think it was, a Buick. A 77 Buick, and it was actually Mom and Dad's wedding car. That one. And you had that for a little while.
Yeah.
And then the first car I remember as a little kid on McKercher Drive in Saskatoon was the Cougar.
Yeah. the Cougar.
That was a pretty cool car.
It was, yeah.
It was rear-wheel drive, though, right?
Yeah, rear-wheel drive. Yeah. Colin was selling them that time, and he got me a good deal, brand new.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, good car. But that Buick, I'm trying to remember.
It was a little Buick Regal.
Sort
of a silver color.
Yeah.
But that's probably one of the ones that you kind of bought and sold and things like that.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, was that the car? Now, we're talking about the Cougar. And that's about an 83. But the one that's the most famous for me is the 81 Honda Civic.
Oh, that's the best car made in the world.
But that Buick, there was a story that you've told me before about one night on McKercher Drive when a Corvette came around the corner. And it came flying into the...
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, in the middle of the night. Well, our bedroom faced the outside of the McKercher Drive.
Mm-hmm.
Our bedroom window. And about 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, I hear this god-awful loud screech, bang, crash, boom, bang. Woke me up. I jumped up, looked out the window, and there's a car that looks like it's in complete pieces sitting there, and 3 bodies laying on the ground, and then there was more bodies laying on the ground, and I thought, is this a movie or is this and so I out the door.
Probably in your underwear still.
Yeah, out the door. I opened the door, and my neighbor opens his door at the same time, and we look at this, and the steam is flying, and and I thought they were all dead. I couldn't believe it. So I get on the blower,
mm-hmm.
and my neighbor said he had already phoned, so I got on the blower.
Yep.
And all of a sudden the police came screeching from both sides down to this way. And I was out there, and these people I thought are dead. And by the time the cops got there, and I just couldn't, I went back into the house, and I'm waiting to see what's going to happen. And by the time then I opened the door again, and the bodies are gone. I thought, what the hell's going on here? But they had been knocked out, that's all. And they were thrown from the car.
Yeah.
But they caught them, the police got them in the back lane there. They were all, they couldn't go too far, but they're all drunk and everything else.
So they were in like a Corvette or something like that, right? It just kind of, it was...
Yeah, it was a vet.
It was a vet. And they were fiberglass, so it just disintegrated.
Yeah, that's right.
But they went, head first straight into the side of your Buick, wasn't it?
Yeah, right to the side of my Buick.
The Buick swung around?
Yeah, it swung around, and it hit my Cougar.
Oh, and it smashed the Honda, too.
It smashed the Honda. No, the Cougar was gone. Who was it?
No, I think the Cougar hadn't happened yet. I think it hit the Buick.
Yeah.
It swung around.
Yeah.
Smashed the back of the Honda.
And then it hit the neighbor's Honda next door.
Didn't it take out the light post?
Yeah.
And that went through the roof?
Through the neighbor's Honda roof.
So it knocked out the light post, and the top of the light post went right top to bottom.
Right through the top of the
and the floor.
roof. Yeah.
Punched a hole.
Yeah, yeah.
Holy smoke.
Yeah.
So your Buick was written off.
Yeah.
But you managed to convince SGI.
I convinced SGI that my Honda had to be fixed. So they repaired it. Yeah. And it came out fairly good. But of course, when you after damage to a car like that, you know, repairing it and stuff, it still leaves. You know, it's not the same as before. Your paint and stuff is not going to be as good, you know, as it was before. So, but anyway, it was still going quite good
for a long time after that, because it was my car and then it was my sister's car in high school too. Now, I remember a story because you'd retired from the Air Force in 1977, right? Or 76, somewhere around there, and then started with SGI as a driver examiner, right?
Yeah.
And there was one bad snowstorm, but you still made it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Terrible snowstorm. And so I jumped in my Honda. There's a bus stuck right past my house on McCurcher. And there's buses stuck all over the place. Cars all over. Nobody can make it. So I thought, well, I got a Honda, so I'm sure I can make it work. So I got around, went through, down past where that church was there, and down around where Nicky lives, and passed down and back, round, running over top of snowbanks. Yeah. And then finally got on the McCurcher and over the top, and downtown I went, and I got there on time for work, 8 o'clock, and so then I'm there all by myself. Nobody else showed up. No, just me.
Just you.
So the boss phones, Gordy phones, about 10:30, 11 o'clock. Oh, Teddy, you're at home. I thought you were at home. I said, no, I'm at work. Oh, well. I said, the buses aren't running, nothing is running. So I said, well, I'm at work. What's wrong with you guys? Come. And I said, I've got a car that I made it down.
So it was a 1981 Honda Civic 5-speed, like a 3-door 5-speed in a nice red color.
Yeah.
With a tan interior. And you had that car for a long... I remember sitting in that car as a kid in your garage, pretending to drive it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Playing with this shifter and, you know, pretending to steer and everything like that. And then you had that Cougar at the same time. And then I think I remember that you swapped the Cougar for a 94 Pontiac Grand Prix.
Yeah. Yeah.
In a maroon color. Pontiac Grand Prix SE. It was kind of a cool car because it had one big wraparound headlight at the front.
Yeah, that's right.
One big solid light.
Yeah.
And those trumpet exhaust pipes at the back.
Yeah.
And a V6. It's kind of a hot little car.
Yeah. Yeah, quite a good vehicle.
But it had an issue when you guys had... that was the very first years you could get command start, right? Remote starter.
Yeah.
Didn't it get monkeyed up with that?
Yeah. The things started going wrong with it, and...
I think I remember that there was a computer that got fried in the process. And you had to get a new one.
Yeah, that's right. I just drove out at that place there on the west side, and that thing gave me more headaches.
So I think it lasted for about 4 years, because in 1998 you bought the car you still got today.
Exactly. Yeah.
Went back to Meidel Honda and bought a brand new 98 Accord LX.
Correct. Yeah.
White, the blue interior, and the VTEC 4-cylinder. And we're at, what, 270,000 kilometers now? Something like that?
Yeah. And still running like a new car.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Very little work done. Done brakes and, tires and the regular stuff.
Yeah.
And the only major repair we've had to do really now recently was a little bit of a subframe replacement because there was a tiny bit of rust, but that's about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Original engine and transmission and...
Yeah. Don't burn any oil or anything. No, I'm very content with the car. All I need is that Honda at my age.
It's a pretty good car.
Yeah. Yeah.
Pretty darn good car.
Very good vehicle. Yeah.
Well, Gramps, thanks for joining me for a podcast and talking about the cars you've had and all the experiences you had over the years.
Well, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me on. I very pleased that you decided to do this.
Yeah.
And thanks again.
Mm-hmm. I want to ask you this: Did you ever actually get a license with it when you were working with the government, like in the Air Force? Did they actually make you take a test and get a license?
Yeah, we had no. Well, yeah, you had to be tested on everything you were checked out on.
Yeah.
Like all the heavy equipment and all the cranes and everything else. But my initial license in Alberta and Calgary, all I did is walk down to the motor license issuer, and I want to buy a license, please.
That's it.
So I got a license.
So probably 48, 49, somewhere in there. Even if we call it 1950 that you got your license, that's still having a license for, 50, 60, 72 years at least.
Yes, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And you were driving since you were probably 10.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
So it's probably more like 80 years of driving.
Yeah, pretty close to that. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I still hope I can still keep on driving for a while.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, like I said, thanks, Gramps, for coming on. I appreciate it a lot.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, and thanks for listening to Bald Tires, presented by Shield Coatings. We always try to bring you great stories about driving, about cars, and we'll continue to do so as much as we can. I'm Jay Thomas. Thanks for listening to Bald Tires, because when you make great memories, you make bald tires. Bald Tires, powered by Shield Coatings, is a proud member of the Saskatchewan Podcast Network, which is supported by Connexus. Does money spark joy in your life or cause you stress? If you said stress, you're not alone. For 42% of Canadians, their biggest stressor comes from money. At Connexus, they care about your financial well-being. Money doesn't have to be stressful, and Connexus is here to help. The Connexus #MoneyTalk blog provides expert advice, tips, and solutions for all stages of life and events. Getting married, buying a house, budgeting, saving, they cover it all and more. And did I mention it's free? Check it out today at ConnexusMoneyTalk.ca and start feeling confident and stress-free about your money. The Saskatchewan Podcast Network is also supported by Direct West. Is marketing getting in the way of running your business? Direct West has a local expert team right here in Saskatchewan that will work with you to build your website exactly how you imagine it. Let them help you improve your online presence and head to directwest.com to learn more.